So, adding to the long delays at airports is the chaos many are experiencing when claiming their bags. My next guest recently returned to Toronto's Pearson Airport from Lisbon, and he says he was shocked by the pile of luggage or baggage and luggage that had accumulated on the floor. Randy I is an employment lawyer and a frequent traveler. He joins me now. So, Randy, good morning to you. Describe
Hello.
for us what you saw at the baggage claim at Pearson.
Well, it was actually quite shocking because I travel very often and I saw a mountain of bags next to the conveyor belt, and they were just stacked next to each other. And I had never seen anything quite like it.
So, did you see people working on this backlog? Were people, crowded around trying to sort it out?
Well, I saw some people who I would assume were official representatives or employees of the airport. They had the yellow jackets, and they were taking some of the bags away, presumably because now there were just too many bags. So it was creating perhaps a hazard for people just to get to different places in the airport. So they were putting the bags somewhere else. I don't know where they were taking the bags. I could only assume that it would make it more difficult for these passengers than to find their own bags because they were taken away to some other location. But as you can see from the picture, this was a picture I took. There's just an endless number of bags just sitting there.
Right. The belt almost seems even useless at this point when there's this many bags. So as we mentioned in the introduction, you're a frequent traveler. So have you seen similar situations at other airports around the world? Because we keep hearing this from the transport minister that it's not just a uniquely Canadian problem.
I actually have not. And I've traveled to close to 60 countries. I travel 4 or 5 times a year internationally. And I actually have not seen this at other airports. This seems to be maybe not a uniquely Canadian issue, but certainly Pearson Airport is getting, I don't know what's happening to Pearson Airport, but it certainly seems to be a problem that is unique to Pearson at the moment that is not reflected in some of the airports that I've seen.
Well, based on, again, your experience traveling, where do you think the problem is? Why does Pearson seem to be so plagued with issues? And this has been going on since April.
Yeah, this is where I would have to speculate. I'm not an expert in this area. From what I understand, it's a combination of staffing shortages, policies, backlogs, perhaps some of the legacy COVID policies that are still in place. I would imagine that it's the perfect storm combination, among all of these factors, in addition to an increase in passenger traffic, with a number of Canadians now wanting to travel because of the lifting of COVID restrictions, and especially it's a summer season. So I think if you put all of these factors together, you would arrive at this particular dilemma.
Have the problems at Pearson changed the way you travel or the way you think about travel?
Well, it certainly adds an extra layer of complication to travel. Travel was never easy to begin with. During the COVID era, it was certainly more difficult with COVID restrictions and vaccination restrictions. And now with these delays, I think travelers will have to think twice about wanting to travel or perhaps figuring out alternative plans to travel. And that's not, I don't think that's a good thing. I think people should be free to travel, and travel should be made as easy as possible.
You recently flew back from LA on an Air Canada flight. What was that experience like?
So that was a different experience. So that was 3 weeks ago. So this picture that I took was more recently from 2 days ago. But 3 weeks ago, I flew back from Los Angeles, and that was a very different experience. That was an Air Canada flight, and I was not. So the employees of the airline told all of the passengers that they could not get off. So if you had a connecting flight, you were allowed to deplane. But if you did not have a connecting flight, you were asked to stay on the plane for at least half an hour. This was to reduce the amount of traffic going through the airport.
Randy, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.